Check 1 2. Checking audio 1 2. Checking video 1 2. 1 2. Check 1 2. Checking audio. You're not having the video. Video's gonna checking video 1 2. Okay. 1 2.
Going to go ahead and start the meeting, and I'll ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Molly, if you'd please help us with the roll call.
Sure thing. Alderperson Henry. Here. Alderperson Schaefer.
Here.
Alderperson Valdy.
Here.
Alderperson Wilkin. Here. Alderperson Grimmer.
Here.
Alderperson Price.
Here.
Alderperson Eicher.
Here.
Mayor Atwell.
Present.
Administrator Hafner.
Here. Okay, thank you very much. We will move on to number 4, special order of business. Introduction of interim municipal court judge Joanne Ehring. Your Honor.
Hello.
Yes, please. And you'll need a red light so that we can hear you. So if you,
Press the big button
there you go.
Good evening, everyone. Like I'm in a hot seat here.
Yeah, right.
Well, it feels a little different for you, huh?
Yeah. I promise I didn't do it.
Heard that one before.
So Tom, you want to give us a little introduction?
Yeah, so Joanne, thanks for coming in. With Judge Hausman's passing, Joanne has been appointed as interim judge for the city of Delafield. Her appointment goes until December 1st, at which time the council will need to appoint a municipal judge. That appointment does not need to be a city resident, so the appointment could be the continuation of Joanne, and then we would have an election in next April for the next term for the municipal judge position. Just one other thing that I just want to throw out that we're going to talk about at our next council meeting is that the city does have an option besides having our own municipal court. And there is a joint court called Lake Country Court that's run out of Conomowoc. And I believe there's about 18 to 20 municipalities, something like that, that are currently in Lake Country Court. And there's pros and cons for joining them versus having our own court. And we'll talk about those, like I said, at our next council meeting. And so I asked Joanne to come in this evening just to give a quick introduction so you can put a face to the name. And after her introduction, and if anyone has any questions for her, we can do that.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit about your municipal history.
Sure. I was the first judge for the town of Brookfield. I was elected in 1991 and have remained in that position ever since. I'm on the Judicial Education Committee, and that's a committee that designs or creates the conferences. We have 4 conferences each year for all of the judges. They're required to attend at least one 2-day conference. And then we have a special conference for the new judges. And I teach at the conferences, some of them. I teach all the new judges as well.
Can you lean forward and speak into the microphone a little bit?
I've been on that committee since sometime in the 90s. I sub in the city of Milwaukee. I've been a substitute judge in a while ago in New Berlin, Menominee Falls. Menominee Falls I still get called for frequently. City of Brookfield. I've been here a couple times. I knew Judge Hausman since he was elected, and we pretty much run our courts a lot, or there's a lot of similarities to our courts. That's all.
Joanne, I just have a quick question. One of the things that Judge Hausman did with teenagers who came before him was a program that sort of helped them kind of reclaim their academic lives, and it was a little program that he ran. I'm not sure what it was called, but I've spent about 25 years of my life working with at-risk youth, and I really felt like it was a powerful teaching tool inside of municipal court. And I didn't know if you were familiar with it or what sorts of things you might think about when you're working with juveniles. And I don't mean you have to answer it this minute, but it was just a seed I wanted to plant because I thought it was very, very valuable to the kids in this community who might find themselves, before a judge having made, let's say, a bad decision.
Sure, and I can answer that now.
Okay, great.
So I like to, with juveniles, make sure they're held accountable and not their parents. So if there's a forfeiture amount, in my court, we do community service. I also know that Judge Hausman does the academic component as well. I don't have any schools in my district. However, I have used, if the parent would tell me that they're struggling in school or they've been slipping in school, I would add that. So I like to be creative with juveniles. I like them to think this is a big deal that they're in court. And however major or small the offense was, I want them to think this is a big deal and there are consequences to everything. But I do also know that they're kids and they make mistakes like we all do. And they're young and you just don't want that to tarnish any of their record if this is their first time or if they're really remorseful for it. So I would, in my court, I do community service. I offer them community service. You can do the forfeiture or you can do this community service. I strongly recommend you do the community service. If you do the community service and you write me a one-page essay as to what you learned out of this whole incident, I would then reduce it to, I used to dismiss them, but I learned, my daughter was 16 and got a speeding ticket, that it's better to have some consequence. So I will reduce it to a noise nuisance violation and give them the community service to do. If it's a teenager and their first speeding ticket of any kind, I usually hold those open for like 6 months to a year, depending on the offense, and I will tell them no new violations within this time period. I would reduce it to a noise nuisance violation and give them that same forfeiture, but it wouldn't be on their traffic record, so it wouldn't affect their graduated driver's license. They have restrictions for, at the beginning, it's 9 months, and any violation they add on 6 months. And I tell them that this won't affect their insurance then, and that you won't have these extra months of restriction if you're violation-free for this period of time. And I tell them right up front, is the purpose of this is to make you a better driver, or if it's an ordinance violation, the purpose is to make you think before you go along with your friends and do things, or you make these choices. It's just kind of a summary.
Yeah, thank you.
Any
else?
other questions for the judge? Otherwise, we'll let her go.
Let her go.
Thank you for being
Your
here.
Honor, for coming
All right.
in.
Nice meeting all of you.
Case dismissed.
Knock this off.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Okay, we'll move on to number 5, approval of the following meeting minutes. A, August 21st, 2023, regular meeting minutes.
I'll move to approve. Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. 5B, September 7th, 2023, special joint meeting of the governing bodies of the municipalities of Lake Country Fire and Rescue and Lake Country Fire and Rescue Board and Lake Country Fire and Rescue Commission.
Move to approve September 7th meeting minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. And lastly, 5C, September 12th, 2023, special meeting minutes.
I'll move to approve September 12th meeting minutes.
A second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Abstain?
Abstain.
One abstain. Motion carries. Okay, we're on to number 6, City of Delafield citizens' comments. What citizens, come on up, Mary.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Mary Daniel. I live here in Delafield at 309 Wisconsin Avenue. This evening, under citizens' comments, I'd like to talk about the approval of the meeting minutes that you just talked about for September 7th and 12th. Delafield citizens voted on a staffing referendum for Lake Country Fire and Rescue April 4, 2003, which approved a $450 fire fee. As the City of Delafield administration prepares to present their budget for 2024, Common Council meetings of September 7th and 12th, meeting minutes, and a newspaper article indicate that there are issues to the agreement of the communities of Lake Country Fire and Rescue, which involve the Village of Shaniqua, Village of Neshota, City of Delafield, Village of Oconomowoc Lake, Town of Delafield, and Village of Wales and Town of Genesee. When I have a broken crown, I trust my dentist, Dr. Mike, to help me. And when I need the brakes on my 2014 Subaru replaced, I trust Nick at Heartland Service. I attended the 2022 Fire and Rescue meeting at the Delafield Fire Station. I listened to retired volunteer fire chiefs and current fire chiefs who spoke about the needs of the Lake Country Fire and Rescue to protect us and how it's changed. We trust them to protect and care for us, and they are the experts, just as Dr. Mike and Nick are for me. Going back to the special meeting of the Common Council meetings back in January of 2023, which was posted on the city website, item 5 was discussion and possible action regarding the Lake Country Fire and Rescue funding, fire fee development, and possible referendum wording. 4 pages later of discussion by alderpersons, well documented by our clerk, $531 for the fire fee was discussed as it would cover the Lake Country Fire Rescue budget request. And in the long run, $450 was agreed upon. I hope that the needs of Lake Country Fire and Rescue to protect us were understood and what that meant to the budget. As of today, in my personal opinion, I think that was missed. What will the solution be? The citizens of Delafield have entrusted you with their vote to take care of our city. Good news. At the end of your email packet, there is a small group of key stakeholders who will come together to help with this impasse we have with this 2024 budget. So thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, I don't see any other citizens, so citizens' comments are now closed. There's nothing on number 7, the consent agenda, so we'll get right into number 8, boards, committees, and commission reports. Molly, I assume no licenses.
Not at this time.
And B, planning commission, Mr. Eicher.
Yeah, we've got a few items here. The last meeting that we had, two of these came from that, and there was, you don't care to see any other details, just look in the minutes, but I'm ready to move on into what we've got. The first item up here is 2A, and that's for Divine Redeemer Lutheran Church, and that's what they're doing is combining 3 individual lots into one because they're going through a major renovation of their school and an addition. and we've had a preview of what that would look like, and I see them here if you think we want to ask them any questions, but it's fairly straightforward, this step at least, and that's the approval of the combination of lots. So I'll make a motion to approve the combination of those 3 lots for a certified survey map for DELC 0733994001 and 7339994 and 7339995.
Second.
Oh, that was like a three-way tie. Who wants to take it?
I'll take it.
All right.
Alrighty. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
All right, now item 2B is ordinance 818, which is in the packet. And this is I think the mayor referenced 2023 as the year of lists for our city planner. As different issues have come up, they're kind of one-off difficult decisions or difficult where we see ambiguity in our code or conflict. We've been writing them down, and we're trying to tackle them and get rid of some of that confusion and make things just run better and smoother. And this is right in keeping with that. This isn't making any dramatic changes to what setbacks would be. It just defines them better as far as whether or not something's attached to the roof, how far it can go over the roof, from the roof to the side yard without being counted as a side yard projection and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'll make a motion. If anyone has questions, we can go through them. I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 818.
Second.
Discussion.
Sorry, is this the one that includes the street access?
No. Oh,
Why
wait, street access requirements. Yes, it actually does. It does.
Okay, so no building shall be newly erected or reconstructed on a lot that does not abut a public street unless the lot has a permanent easement of 30 feet. If the easement serves more than 2 lots, the easement shall be 60 feet in width. So these are shared driveways for multiple houses. A 60-foot easement is a big easement through someone's yard. Bigger than some public streets.
And that would apply if there are more than 2 lots.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to do a lot of research around town.
The struggle would be to find out where this would have an adverse effect, and that's something that we considered before we passed this. The main thing that ordinances like this, especially with street access, are trying to prevent are flag lots and creating density on little island lots that are kind of landlocked. There's not a lot of those in the city.
Yeah, I get the,
Where they do exist right now, I'm fairly certain they have this type of easement already. So someone trying to create one new, there's a little bit of a deterrent. So your 60 feet would be a little bit of a deterrent for somebody to try to squeeze a couple extra houses into an area and create a joint driveway. It would be an obstacle, but that's the intent.
yeah, or create a emergency vehicle access issue.
Right.
I know of 2 streets in my district that are serving 18 houses that are private streets, 10-foot easements. They're both going to see a reconstruction within the next couple of years, or one new construction. No, I'm sorry, yeah, they're both reconstructions. They'd both be tear downs.
I'm not sure how that would have any impact on this. I mean, I don't
The
know.
way I read this, they wouldn't be able to reconstruct those houses without a 60-foot easement through an existing neighborhood, which will be a significant hardship on multiple houses.
But there's
does this help you,
contingency in
Mark,
here
where
for
it
lots
says-
created prior to January 1st,
Right.
23.
They're not exempt. the plan commission would have to rule.
Right. But at least it gives the planning commission the opportunity to take a special look at it rather than just say, here's the rule.
Mark, just a thought, some of those accesses that you're talking about now, I mean, probably when you look at them, they're not ideal. And probably if those properties develop now, we probably would do things differently. But when you get to be, more than two homes, you're probably looking at wanting a driveway that allows for two-way traffic. So you're probably looking at maybe a 24-foot wide pavement, something like that, and then wanting rooms on either side to run gas utilities, cable utilities, electric utilities, things like that. And so it becomes more of an ideal situation to be able to have a nice, neat area on either side of the road to run those utilities and things like that, as opposed to trying to figure out how to fit them in, run them under the pavement and things like that.
Yeah, and that's fine if it's a new development. But if it's an existing development, the utilities are already there, the houses are already there.
Right, but we said this doesn't apply to existing, right?
No,
For any lots created before January 1st.
the plan commission will have authority over whether it applies or not. Doesn't say it doesn't apply, it says plan
It says
commission make a
it
decision.
has the ability to change it
Yeah.
for the appropriate circumstances, correct?
Whatever the plan commission.
The
at
planning
time
commission may
determines.
reduce the required width
Appropriate.
provided that emergency vehicles can access all lots served by the permanent easement.
Yeah, it doesn't take a 60-foot easement.
And one would presume that the planning commission would review the facts and make such a decision to reduce it.
That's predicting the future.
Well, they have the opportunity to do it if they so choose.
Yeah.
But if they found one that wasn't safe for, say, fire access, then they might want it tweaked so that it would.
Why wouldn't we grandfather existing developments?
To put any building you want on it?
No, to not have to widen the street to 60 feet if somebody wants to reconstruct a building. The way this reads, when the guy at the end of the street tears down his house and reconstructs, that whole street serving those 8 to 10 houses, whatever they are, is going to have to be widened to 60 feet.
Yeah, so there'd be two ways to handle that. One would be
Unless the plan commission.
having the plan commission
Make an exception.
approve, I mean, they would have to go to the plan commission to approve, you're right. Or it could go to the zoning appeals and someone could, you'd have a good case for a hardship, saying that you're creating undue economic burden on me by trying to comply with this, and that would be they would be in sync with each other. But you're right. No, what you're saying is 100% accurate.
It seems
right?
like
I mean,
that
if
shouldn't be the
somebody has an
exception.
existing home, tears it down and wants to build a new home there, or any kind of structure, it would have to go to the plan commission. It would not, right? I mean, it wouldn't just be a building inspector.
It wouldn't be
approval.
there if there wasn't an existing easement.
Pardon me?
It wouldn't be there if there wasn't an existing easement. You wouldn't be tearing down a house that has no access. So we're
In theory, I mean,
saying you
yeah.
have to reconstruct. It just seems like that shouldn't be the exception. Existing homeowners should.
It sounds like the homeowners have a avenue to pursue if the planning commission doesn't act in a way that would be in their interest. So I would rather leave it in a way that allows the planning commission to see it and make that decision than to make it an automatic that they can build what they want without, I mean, I'd rather have a set of eyes on it, and the homeowners have.
We're taking away those rights.
No, we're not. I mean,
Sure we are.
we're taking it away as an automatic,
The
but it
default
just
is.
has to.
it's a 60-foot street. As a homeowner, the burden is on you to prove you have an economic hardship to rate.
No, you wouldn't have to do that. With that, you'd have to go that route if the plan commission denied
If the plan,
this,
yeah.
the substandard width. Because you're saying that we could go down to 30 feet.
But there wouldn't be a lot of incentive for the planning commission to want to enforce 60-foot minimum when the existing road is functioning properly. I'm trying to think what the motivation would be for them to want to. This is more, as I understood the discussion in the planning commission, was more for a few existing slightly larger lots where you could get 2 or 3 houses and creating a viable way to access them for future development, as opposed to their this being intended necessarily. And I understand you have to be aware of potential consequences,
creating
unintended
new
consequences.
lots. That's pertaining to creating new lots or new homes. I'm talking about existing lots, existing homes. Tearing down an existing home that's served by I'll call it a shared driveway, private drive, and reconstructing that, you're going to disrupt every house in that street.
May.
Unless those homeowners have the burden of proof that it's a hardship.
No, they
No,
don't have, that's not
correct.
required for the plan commission. That would be if they were denied by the plan commission, they could go to the zoning appeals.
Yeah.
But
What do you mean denied by? The homeowners would have to show up and do something and plead to the plan commission.
they'd have to say, we want to do this, and we don't have a 60-foot easement, we have a 30-foot easement.
We don't want to do this. The homeowner A wants to build a house.
Yeah.
Rebuild, tear down and rebuild. Homeowners B, C, D, E, and F are all impacted.
How?
They're
Are
going
you
to,
saying that there's not an existing 30-foot easement?
they're going to have to increase their easement to 60 feet. from-
They don't have, not
Existing
if the plan commission says they don't have to. They can lower it to 30.
That would still be a significant burden.
So there's lots right now that have,
So that those
Less
homeowners
than
would
30
have to
foot.
go to the plan commission to defend their property rights.
I kind of get what you're
No, you're
saying,
right.
Mark.
No,
To
you're
me,
right.
it's like I live on Mill Street, which is a very narrow street. And we have looked at knocking our home down and building a home on there. So what you're saying is I would have to widen Mill Street? Am I not understanding? I guess I'm not understanding it based on your reaction.
This just applies to properties that are not on a public street.
Okay. Gotcha.
So Mill Street could be narrower than 60 feet, but private.
Oh, it
would have
is.
to be 60.
No, I'm not sure, but there's a good chance Mill Street is a 60-foot right-of-way. We're not talking about pavement width, we're talking about the right-of-way width.
Right, we've had this discussion, though, because some of the right-of-ways go through people's living rooms, not so much on Mill, but pretty close to the living room.
And Tim, you were saying that the plan commission could reduce it to 30. The way I'm reading it, the plan commission could reduce it to whatever they want to reduce it down.
oh, yeah, correct, yeah.
From what
Still,
the
that would be an
discussion we're
exception.
having here, Mark, I think you bring up a legitimate topic, but I'm having a hard time understanding why the planning commission wouldn't want to make the exception that you're concerned about. I mean, I would think they would want to make that exception. I'm trying to understand what would motivate them to try to affect neighbor B, C, D, and E. They would want harmony, and they would want to leave that alone unless, I can envision like a fire truck can't get through, right? And I'm not aware of that
Yeah.
being the case currently in the area I believe you're referencing. So I don't know what the motivation would be for the planning commission to want to change it from how it exists today.
We'd have to ask them, but in every future planning commission, this just takes the property rights, existing property rights away and puts the burden on the homeowner to look for an exception from the planning commission.
An allowed
I would think we
exception.
would want to protect the homeowners and make the planning commission only put it on the planning commission if it's, if there needs to be an exception for a safety reason. Or if we have an existing road that's working fine, why should we have to go to plan commission to leave it that way? You know what I'm saying? If I want to make a change, yeah, then I could see going to planning commission. But if we have an existing situation that's working, why should I have to go to planning commission to fight for it as a homeowner?
Yeah, I'm trying to I'm scanning through to see what code existed before this and whether or not this is an introduction of this as a new item or not.
I think it's right below it in red with the line struck out, is that correct? On page 17 of the packet?
Yes.
And the old one said, no building shall be erected, placed on a lot not abut that does not abut a public street, except that subject to the, oh wait, I must be missing something.
Period.
Except that subject to the approval of the planning commission, a building without frontage on a public street may be permitted to be so erected, provided the tract in question has access to public street by permanent easement of at least 30 feet in width. If such easement serves more than two separate occupancies, it shall be 60 feet in width, except further that access to, which we're not talking about. So as I read this.
It exists today.
It already exists today.
We're not introducing a new
We're just changing the words
limitation.
around it to make it clearer.
I understand. That doesn't make it a good ordinance.
Well,
But you're arguing we're taking anything away.
Yeah, we're not,
They already, those rights don't.
this isn't introducing a new restriction. It's the existing process would be the same, it's just, it's articulated better.
And the current code doesn't provide for the plan commission ability to decrease it.
It's like, you must have to go to zoning appeals now to do that. We're making it easier, actually.
To get an exception.
It just seems backwards to require an exception for somebody to maintain the property that they already own.
It's not you're talking about
Control of
reconstructing a new building. You're talking about putting a new building on a property?
Oh,
You can do maintenance on anything.
no, I'm talking about your neighbor doing a tear down, and you have to put a road through your yard. That's what this does.
No, he would not be able to rebuild his house
Without
or to
widening
reconstruct the
road-
house without
widening the
a
road through your
30-foot
yard.
easement.
Without widening the road through your yard.
That doesn't compel someone to give that easement.
Yes, it does, this does.
No, it says you can't do it if you don't have the easement. It doesn't mean that if your neighbor wants to put a 5,000 square foot house where there's a little cottage right now,
You
and
just want to rebuild the little cottage.
that's,
That's not.
You need a 60-foot, you need a 60-foot road.
But if his neighbors weren't willing to give him the easement, then he'd have to take that into consideration and say, if I tear down my house, I won't be able to build anything. So therefore, I better not tear down my entire house. And then he's got to talk to his building inspector about how much can he do without it being considered a tear down?
So nobody can be compelled.
Or he could just go to the plan commission and say, can I tear my house down without getting this easement changed?
So nobody else can be compelled to provide this easement that the city is requiring.
no.
But it's a
That
city
would be
requirement.
taking property owner rights.
Yeah, that's why
No, I'm glad you asked the questions,
it
but
just seems to be that the city is gonna come in and say, no, you have to, we have to put this
I
road through or widen this existing road. And
I suppose the city could try to use eminent domain in the future, but that's not what the city, that's not the city's, in their character, and, you'd have to make an argument that it's for the benefit of the entire city as a whole, which would be pretty tough if it's just a small little neighborhood issue.
so property owner couldn't be compelled to provide this easement.
maybe by enough money from the neighbor.
Well, sure,
That's what it would likely take.
that's voluntary then.
And more importantly, that's not what this ordinance
No.
does. This ordinance just says they wouldn't be able to build if they don't have this, or get an exception from the planning commission.
Is that right? Plan commission?
100%.
That's how I read it. Tom's the interpreter of the
It's a good
code
question. It's a good question.
8 times out of 10. Well, maybe that's not true. Amy as well.
Tom, are you on board with Danielle's interpretation?
Yeah, and I think there's even other ways around this that, like I said before, I don't know, you could tear down 95% of the house and keep 5% of it, and that's, you still got part of the house that was there already, and you'd have to work through with the building inspector through that type of, interpretation.
And again, I'm not as concerned about the person building the house, I'm concerned about the impact of that on their other people's property.
So this is just a newly erected house, so certainly anyone could put a
Or
addition onto their house, tripling the size of it, and
Or
this one.
reconstructed in the same footprint.
That's not reconstruction. Reconstruction is a different building. If you use the same footprint, that's not considered, am I wrong? That's not considered a reconstruction?
This just says, no building shall be erected or placed on a lot.
Or reconstructed on a lot,
It's not, I'm not
It do-
reading that.
unless there's a easement.
Are you reading the old ordinance?
I'm reading the red.
That's not the ordinance.
I'm reading this right
That's
now.
not the ordinance.
This is the markup.
Erected or placed on.
That's not in here.
But that's not struck out.
So I'm seeing different language in the ordinance versus the red line. Are you seeing that?
Yeah. I see the strikeout, but the new wording includes reconstruction.
Yeah. On the red line, it says or reconstructed, like it's an addition, but when you look at the ordinance, that's not in there.
This is what we're approving. This is the ordinance we're approving. It didn't make it into the final draft.
What page is
Okay.
14.
So then it would apply to new construction only,
Is that right?
not to a new reconstruction of an existing home. I went to the red line so I could see what the old
Yeah, me too.
one said.
So that's a bit problematic, and unless the council's comfortable with the ordinance language, maybe we put this on hold for, until next meeting.
The fact that they don't match.
Yeah. Should we put this on hold for, until the next meeting, and I can talk to our city planner about which is the language that the plan commission recommended?
Review the wording and
Yep.
make sure we're clear.
I did not notice that.
And neither did I.
We've got a motion and a second.
That falls into the category of good catch, Mark.
Thank you for your patience.
Okay.
So we've got a motion and a second, so I mean, if just voting it down doesn't do any damage, it can come back up next meeting, right?
It'll have to be
It'll have to be assigned a new ordinance number, so we'll have like a dead ordinance. That's what I see as being the only problem on my end.
Is,
Can the motion be withdrawn?
Yep.
I withdraw my motion until, and want to refer it back to the plan commission and the city planner.
I withdraw my second if that's necessary.
Great. Anything else from the planning commission?
Yeah,
Thank
the
you
one
for
that I
the-
thought was going to really create a
We
problem.
want to make an official motion
Oh, yeah.
to table this to the
No,
next.
not
we're
tabled.
tabled.
Okay,
It's
don't
just
do that.
motions
No
withdrawn.
table.
Thanks for the clarification, by the way.
Postpone.
do you need a motion to
A motion
refer
to
it back?
Usually there's a motion to postpone, I believe is the correct term for the.
I'll make a motion to postpone passage of the ordinance until city planner review.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
Who had the second? Okay.
So item 2C is, I'll call it, what do you call it? House cleaning. But what it is, it's complying with the FEMA regulations, which we always have, and the Wisconsin DNR as far as definition of our floodplain zoning ordinance. The key takeaway here for anybody that might see this in the paper or watching is that this has nothing to do with the mapping. Nothing's changed with the maps. There was a long-fought correction of an error that went back into the early 2010-ish. It predated me on council, and it stayed there for about 4 years of trying to get that thing handled. So it has nothing to do with the land of management records. Is that what it's called? Anyway, so this is just changing some wording to refresh and update our floodplain zoning ordinance. So I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 819.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
And that is it for Plan Commission. We have a meeting at the last Wednesday of the month.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to 8C, Lake Welfare Committee. Mr. Price.
Okay, last Wednesday, the Lake Welfare Committee had its annual lake awareness meeting at the Nagelbickle Lake Yacht Club. We had a very nice turnout. People actually were coming out the back door and the front door. So next year, that continues, we'll have to get a larger venue, so I was happy to see that. The main topics were update on dredging, wakeboard boats, and lake rules. There was a very, very lively discussion on wakeboard boats, which was interesting. But other than that, it was a good meeting, so.
Yeah, I happened to attend that meeting as well, and, the wakeboard boat, there were people there that have concerns about them, and then there were also owners of the boats. And I thought Mike Hausman, the chairman, did a really good job explaining to the crowd of the near impossibility of trying to create an ordinance he made a gesture of having a police officer out in the boat with the yardstick trying to measure the height of a wave, that type of ordinance and so forth is extremely difficult to try to not only write, but then have something be enforceable. And so he reiterated, something the Lake Welfare Committee has said there for a number of years. It's really about education. It's about courtesy to other boaters. It's about asking those people that create those deep waves with those types of special boats to stay in the deeper parts of the lake. And he put a map up that showed where those deeper areas are, and that those boat owners should try to stay in those deeper areas, which is just off center to the east side of the shore, but basically up to about Zastro's Bay and down to the southern edge. And it seemed to go over very well with both sides of the participants at the meeting. So for anybody that might be watching that wasn't there, please be courteous with those wakeboard boats and use them be respectful of the other people on the lake, and stay in the very deepest zones of the lake. So, well, great. Thanks, Paul.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to D, Park and Recreation Commission, Tree Board, Mr. Schaefer.
Park and Rec, current hot topics, Pickleballs courts is still a hot topic, still working on possible solutions. Oakwood Park tree planting. We're working on a plan with the city forester and DPW to get some tree planting going there. As that park develops, you can't just pop up big trees, so looking at along Oakwood Road of starting some planting now to get a more park-like feel when that, to fit in with future development there. We received a donation for a memorial bench from a woman, the mother of Josh Davies, who is a Delafield resident who was killed in July. And that bench has been approved for the disc golf course. Also some possible tree plantings in his memory. Liberty Park Stage, kind of reviewed what happened with the entertainment series this summer. And we can't discuss it here tonight, but in a future meeting, I think we'll have a topic whether we want to, whether it's worth continuing a similar series for next year or not. So start giving that some thought. That's it for Park and Rec.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Okay, we'll move on to Public Works Committee. Mr. Grimmer.
Yeah, we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago. We had a nice, robust discussion on a few topics, including Milwaukee Street traffic calming. Jackie shared her poll results, which were helpful. Ideas were discussed on signage and painting and speed enforcement. And then Public Works also discussed a few different areas for traffic signage. Next meeting is October 4th.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grimmer. Okay, we'll move on to F. Delahart. Mr. Iker again.
We have a meeting tomorrow. We're going through the budget, so I'll let you know how that looks. But earlier this year, we became debt-free. We do not have any loans, and it's where the money's at is in wastewater treatment, I'll tell you. But we're investing it back in the plant to comply with the ever-changing, newer, harsher regulations, and things are going well. And we've got a new general manager that's on board, and there's going to be overlap with him and Scott for the next 3 months. So we've got a real good hire, nice experienced person. It's going to jump right in. So a lot of, well, whatever. That's a lot of change for Delhart. One year we've got a new treasurer, financial secretary, and a new general manager. That's like 20 years worth of hires and fires right there. So.
That's probably why it works so well.
It's slow and steady. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Okay, G, Police Commission.
Okay, the Police Commission met and approved Matthew Dupre for promotion to sergeant effective January 1. Matt's been with our department since 2022, but has been an officer since 2013, and that's all I have to share.
Great, thank you for that update. Okay, H, Library Board. Ms. Henry.
Yeah, the library board met last Tuesday. I was not able to attend because of our special meetings, so I would refer you to the minutes. There is an update, just the note from Stephanie, the library director, on page 66 of your packet, and we are currently working on updating the bylaws and just making sure everything is worded properly and we're following the rules. So.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to I, Zoning Board of Appeals. No meeting, right, Jackie? Now, you guys know you have training coming up because we're anticipating.
Can't wait.
Because you haven't met that committee hasn't met for over 2 years, maybe 3. So they need a refresher. Okay, Promotion and Tourism Commission, Mr. Schaefer.
No meeting, no report. Our next meeting is October 10th.
Okay, Lake Country Fire and Rescue Commission, not a meeting that I'm aware of. L, Lake Country Fire and Rescue Board, Mr. Grimmer.
All were present at the September 7th meeting. I would refer you to the minutes. Our next meeting is October 5th.
Great, thank you very much. Deer Management Committee, Dirk.
We were scheduled to have a meeting tomorrow night, but it was canceled. Otherwise, the hunting season started on Saturday, and the sign-up is out in the website and accessible to everybody. So we're off and running. We put up 3 trail cams so we can gather data on deer movement and things like that we expect will be able to help the hunters find out the best times to be out there and where they might anticipate seeing the deer. So wait and see on that.
It'll be valuable information.
Let's hope so.
And do you know how many people have already signed up to rent a stand, or?
I don't know.
Until it gets colder, now, I'm not the expert here, but generally you're not gonna have too many signups until the weather, shifts. They just don't move around as actively, so you
They
can
come to
spend a lot.
my, they come to
I
my
know,
backyard every day at
I
4 if they
know.
want.
I know.
I'll put a stand up for it.
It's the hunter protocol. Sounds good. Alrighty. Nothing else there. Move on to Mayor's Report, number 10. Discussion possible action on the following items. Accept resignation of Jack Dembski from the citizen member position on the Public Works Committee, term to expire April 2024.
So moved.
I'll second.
Alrighty. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Number 11, new business, approval of voucher payable report for reporting period 8/22 to 2023, 9/18 to 2023, in the amount of $571,944.60 for accounts payable and $256,415.77 for payroll.
I move to approve vouchers payable for 8/22/23 to 9/18/23.
I'll second.
Alrighty, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay, report of city officials, city administrator.
Just one item to report on this evening. I received an email today from the Town of Genesee Administrator, and he was just letting me know that the Town of Genesee had a special board meeting this morning and that they denied approval of the amendment that the City of Delafield proposed. That's all I've got.
Did they give a reason?
They did not.
Alrighty, city clerk, any report?
It's been a busy few weeks with meetings, so I do not have a report.
Sounds good. C, city treasurer, July 2023 treasurer's report and August 2023 treasurer's report are in the packet for your review. 12D, council request for future agenda items. Do we have any now?
Just 2 quick ones, maybe just next month. An update on the writing of the tree ordinance and an update on the Horn-Free Railroad crossing on Vittleson Road. Any word back from the feds on that?
Okay.
They're still blowing their horns, so.
Anything else? All right, if something comes up between now and the next agenda item, please reach out to Tom. Number 13, I'll refer you to any additional correspondence that's in the packet. And number 14, matters for possible closed session. The council will reconvene into open session after completion of the closed session to consider the balance of the agenda. 1, motion to convene into closed session pursuant to the provisions of Wisconsin Statute 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting the other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. More specifically, the City of Delafield's participation on the fire chief's proposed LCFR 2024 budget team being convened to help move past the current impasse with the 2024 LCFR budget.
I'll move, when we go into closed session.
Second?
Alderperson Henry.
Aye.
Alderperson Schaefer.
Aye.
Alderperson Valdy.
Aye.
Alderperson Wilkin.
Aye.
Alderperson Grimmer.
Aye.
Alderperson Price.
Aye.
Alderperson Eicher.
Aye.
represent.
Just turned on.
Everybody know that they're on?
Yeah.
Just now.
He gets paid, not a lot, but he gets paid. Oh, Mary? Well, that's, it's gonna be disappointing then.
We were just told to turn them on.
Okay, we're gonna move to convene into open session, 14-2.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Henry? Oh.
Henry,
Aye.
Schaefer,
Aye.
Bailey,
Aye.
Wilkin,
Aye.
Grimmer,
Yep. Aye.
Price,
Aye.
Iker.
Aye.
And who, it was Iker and Henry, right?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, 14-3, discussion of possible action regarding items discussed in closed session. There was no action taken. So we'll move on to number 15. Seeing no further business, we are now adjourned at 9:11.